It's time to do another Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft. This will be version 9.0. Guys, the NFL draft is next week. I'm beyond excited. I'm going to the draft myself. I hope I see a bunch of you guys out there, man. The first ever draft in Green Bay. I mean, there's so much hype behind this. We're down to our final 2 mock drafts. So as much as I want the draft to get here, I am going to miss making weekly mock drafts. I appreciate everyone coming by to the channel every single week, checking out these mock drafts. You guys are the best. So we have this version 9.0. Next week, 10.0 is going to be my personal mock draft. All the players that I like a lot that I want the Packers to add to their football team. Then, of course, the day before the draft, I'll make the Brian Gutekunst mock draft. We saw last year when I made the Goot mock, I had them selecting Jordan Morgan first, Edgerrin Cooper in the second, and also Katan Oladapo there in the fifth. So I'm going to try to at least match that, which is going to be very difficult. Maybe try to get 3-4 players correct in the Brian Gutekunst mock draft, which will be also more difficult because the Packers have less picks, so less picks to get right than the past 2 seasons. But this is really the final mock draft where we can look at a different type of scenario, and I'm going to try to do that today. Again, not every mock draft is going to be the same. I'm not going to come out on here on video and draft the same players 10 times in a row or do the same thing 10 times in a row. There's no fun in that, right? The mock drafts are meant to mock things, right? So we're going to see certain situations of trade downs, trade ups, certain players that could be selected by the Packers and how that would, dictate the rest of their draft. That's the point of these videos. If you want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers during this draft season, and then of course throughout the offseason with OTAs, rookie mini camp, you'll find all the highlights from those camps here on this channel. So definitely go down and click subscribe. You don't want to miss any of those videos. Also, a massive shout out to today's sponsor, BetUsTV. If you guys are looking for more sports content, I highly suggest going over and checking out their YouTube channel. They have a bunch of different shows, a bunch of different content over there. I'm going to link it down in the description below. And also, if you're a user on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, they have an account over there as well at BetUsTV. So again, massive shout out to this year's channel sponsor, BetUsTV. All right, so now back into the mock draft. The only thing that's changed, which was something that happened this morning, and I wouldn't even really consider it a change because they have yet to sign the player, and that's that they had a visit with linebacker Isaiah Simmons. I made a video on it. You can go check it out on my page going over what he could bring to this Packers football team, but they've yet to sign him. Now, if they sign him, I still think it's a majority special teams signing. I think Isaiah Simmons could sneak onto some sub packages on the defense if the Packers sign him, but I think they think highly of, or they should think highly of Tyron Hopper for that matter. They let go of Eric Wilson. They did bring back Isaiah McDuffie, but if they add Isaiah Simmons, they already added Christian Welch. I think they could still draft a linebacker, but it's not on like the top of the list for me. I'm not going to go and draft a linebacker in say the 3rd or the 4th round. Could the Packers select one in the later rounds like a Stutzman, a Higgins, or even a Teddy Buchanan? Yeah, I think they could, but it seems like they're just trying to load up on these special teams players like Christian Welch, Isaiah Simmons after losing Eric Wilson, Rochelle, Ballantyne, all of which played special teams as well. So that's really the only change. Other than that, nothing has changed for the Packers. So let's dive right into it. Bringing up the draft screen again, we pick at 23, and similarly, like I said, the past like 3 to 4 episodes, which is something I might actually try to do today if it happens, and I'm hoping it does, is if a certain player falls around 18 or 19, trading up, because I don't think we've done a single trade up. And let me start off by saying this. I think it's very unlikely that the Packers trade up, but if they do, I think it's right around 18 and 19, and that's where it ends. I don't really see the Packers trading up into the top 17. I think it's too much draft capital, and a draft they already have less picks than the prior 2 seasons. We have 8 total picks, and Gutekunst has gone on record so many times saying, hey, we're going to end up with more picks. He pretty much said that, like plain and simple. Now, you could still trade up to 18 and 19 and still have 8 picks in this draft and then trade down later and end up with 9, 10 picks in the draft. It can be done. So if there's an opportunity here, considering this is the last, speculative mock draft, I'm definitely going to try to do it. So for a matter of fact, the exact situation I was talking about just happened. There's a player I want to trade up for at 19 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think for the last 3 to 4 mock drafts, I've written down 2 players that if one of them falls to 18 or 19, preferably 19 like it did here, it's going to trigger a potential trade up. Now, it's not Ted McMillan who goes at 13, which I know a lot of people like him. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't like the fact that he doesn't like to watch football tape, and there's some other concerns there. And the receiver class, at least the top end of it, not that strong this year. There's definitely a chance that not a single receiver goes in the top 15. Like Ted McMillan, Matt Golden are the two that potentially could. We'll see how this draft goes. But I'm going to be trading up for a very, very intriguing player here at 19. And this is the trade I've kind of compiled up. So we're going to be swapping 23 and 19. We're going to have to send 124 and a next year fifth. And the reason I'm adding a next year pick, and usually I don't like to do this in mock drafts, is because I don't really see Gutekunst trading 3 picks for 1 pick in a draft he already has less picks. So if he were to do this, I think he would add a future year pick, but also get back a future year pick. Now, you're swapping 5th and 7th here, you're swapping 23 and 19, and then you're essentially getting rid of 124. But that still gives us room at pick 54 and 87 to potentially trade down and get a couple more picks in this draft class, which is probably what I would try to do and what I think Gutekunst would do if he were to trade up here. So we sent that trade to Tampa Bay, and you guys can see it. I'm trading up for Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. Now, he did test today for some teams. He didn't run a 40. He only tested vertically and then I think 3-cone, and he had a decent vertical, and his 3-cone wasn't the best, but teams said he looked very fluid out there, looked very smooth. And Will Johnson, in my opinion, is the best cornerback coming out of this class. Now, of course, he suffered some injury in 2024. He had a severe case of turf toe, including a minor shoulder injury, nothing that should linger around. And if Will Johnson was fully healthy and had a fully healthy 2024, this guy would be a top 12 pick, 100%. He's a phenomenal cornerback, and I think if you get him in the building, because the Packers could trade away Jaire Alexander, maybe I'll do that in this mock too, just because we get Will Johnson, maybe pick up an additional later round pick for Jaire, because you go out and you trade up and you get your number 1 cornerback, and that's what Will Johnson can be. 6'2", 202. I mean, this past season, again, only played in 6 games, but still only allowed a 52.6 pass rating, had 2 interceptions, only allowed 16 receptions. But you look at the prior 2 seasons, man. I mean, one of the best cornerbacks in college football. You see in 2023, he had 4 interceptions, no touchdowns allowed, a 30.9 passer rating allowed. In 2022, his highest PFF grade at 88.2, had 3 interceptions, only allowed 28 receptions, and had a passer rating allowed of 66.5. He's an outside cornerback. He's tall, he's rangy. Johnson is a long, lean cornerback with elite foot quickness and change of direction fluidity. His limited long speed will create questions about his man coverage reliability in the NFL, but having him play off coverage with his eyes on the ball as a zone scheme wide cornerback could allow him to make impactful plays more often. And that's exactly what the Jeff Hafley defensive scheme is. Eyes on the football, eyes on the quarterback, read and react, go make a play. And that's what Will Johnson excels at. I would be ecstatic if the Packers were able to trade up, just a few spots here, 4 spots to 19 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs are short on draft picks. So this is a realistic trade up opportunity here, and go and get, in my opinion, the number 1 cornerback in this draft class. You don't know what's going to happen with Jaire. Even if you have Jaire, we need insurance. We need another outside guy. And what better than Will Johnson? So we're selecting Will Johnson, corner out of Michigan, after a trade up to 19. Let's do it. So we're back on the clock at pick 54. And if I had known this, maybe I wouldn't have gone up and traded up for Will Johnson, but Trey Amos is available at 54. I don't see this as a realistic opportunity. I think, honestly, Trey Amos could be the Packers pick in the first round if they slightly trade down. Right now, that's kind of the way I'm leaning. So I really don't think he'll be available here at 54. But still, you got to go up and you get your player. You got Will Johnson, corner number 1. It really shores up that cornerback room for the Green Bay Packers. Now we're at pick 54. We could trade down, but some of the players after a potential trade down into like the 60s or 70s, I'm not that high on certain players in that range, whereas someone's sitting here right now that if he's available at 54, I mean, I feel like you have to run the card up. I think Higgins also goes before 54. I think Amos definitely goes before 54. Higgins could fall slightly into the 40s, something around that, maybe even early 50s. But, if he's available here at 54, I think you run the card up. He's one of my favorite receivers out of this class. I've drafted him probably 4 to 5 times in mocks, and there's a reason for it. Prototypical X receiver, outside guy, can win against man coverage, can go up and win a contested catch, right? Very, very low drop rate. He catches everything. He's a quarterback's best friend, and the Packers suffered with a lot of drops last season. So we need guys that can catch the football. And, I have belief in this Packers receiver room, but we're going to be without Christian Watson. That much is a fact, right? I still think Tay Wicks is going to have a breakout season, but Jaden Higgins would just add another dynamic to that wide receiver room, and I think it would be a phenomenal pick in the second round. So we are going Jaden Higgins, receiver out of Iowa State here at pick 54. So we're back on the clock at pick 87, and some of the players I really wanted to fall to 87, one of which was CJ West, Jonas Savianea, probably pronouncing that wrong, but maybe not. Alfred Collins at 84. Kind of wanted him to drop. A really solid run defense, defensive line. Definitely need to make this next pick front four, 100%. And I think I might trade down. Oladejo is available. He's climbing up PFF's board. His ADP still at 103. I'm not huge on him. I think he lacks experience. I do think he has a high ceiling, but it feels like the Packers, need a guy that has experience, right? Has played good amount of football the past few seasons at edge rusher, has a lot of experience, and come right into this defense and contribute right away. And I just don't really know if Oladejo can give that to you year one. There's other options here. We already went receiver, so no need to go Jalen Royals at this pick here. Jalen Newell. There's some tackle options such as Wyatt Millum, Cam Williams, Charles Grant, but I think I'm going to trade down here slightly and try to pick up a couple more draft picks since we lost one in that trade up. So I'm going to trade down with the San Francisco 49ers, 13 picks. From 87 to 100. They have a plethora of draft picks, so we're going to add another one here, trading 87 for 100, but also picking up 138. I like a lot of the players in that 140 range, and we lost our 124 with that trade up, so we're kind of getting this back here with this trade here. So we're going to go ahead and send that trade. It's going to be accepted with the 49ers. Let's get to our pick at 100. So here we are at pick 100. Oladejo is still available, but the same reasons apply here to not select him at 100. An edge rusher that I like at this range is Ashton Gillott from Louisville. Because, the guy was an absolute beast rushing the passer this past, 3 seasons, a ton of experience, 5 sacks this past season, 9 sacks in 2023, 7 sacks in 2022. I mean, look at all the defensive snaps played, over 600 snaps each season, the past 2 seasons, and then 460 back in 2022. Run defense grade, solid, 78.0. Pass rush grade, 89.9. A very, very high pass rush win rate at 20.9%. Gillott's flying under the radar. He's a guy I really like. Now, the only worry here with if he fits the Packers' thresholds is his arms are a little bit shorter. He has shorter arms than the Packers traditionally like at edge, but he does have the weight, 275 pounds, almost has the height. I think they like 6'4" and above. But Gillott's a very strong defensive end that can defend against the run, contain, but also get after the quarterback. And I think they need to add, more guys into that room. After trading away Preston Smith last year, they kind of lost that type of player. He's an impressive run defender, and it says here you can even slide into play 3-tech or the 4-eye, which is very impressive, kind of similar to what Lucas Van Ness probably could do. But Ashton Gillott, a decent amount of production the past 3 seasons, and in my opinion is the best edge available on the board. I like him better than Oladejo. Then you kind of have a significant drop off in my opinion down past here. So I think we need to address edge. You could go defensive line here. I do like Jamari Caldwell. I really do. But I think we could get, say, someone like Ty Robinson a little bit later. Cam Jackson is nice for a nose tackle type of player. So yeah, we're going to go Ashton Gillott, edge out of Louisville after trading down here at pick 100. We're on the clock at 138, the last and final pick in the 4th round, and I'm going to go Ty Robinson. I know he usually falls to like the 6th or 7th here in this PFF simulator, but he's around 100 on Consensus Big Board, and PFF finally gave him his flowers. They rank him at 122, which is more respectable, right? I think he fits right around that 100 mark, so I think getting him at 138 is possible. Now, obviously, the Packers don't traditionally own this pick, but they could also select him, say, at pick 124, and he really does feel like a Packers-style 3-tech defensive lineman that they add in a draft class. He's actually one of my 100% fits on my interior defensive line fits for the Green Bay Packers. He's 6'5", 288, has a 9.89 RES, coming off a 5-sack season with 37 pressures, a whopping 26 stops, a great pass rush win rate, a great run stop rate, a little bit of an issue, a missed tackle issue, 18.4% there. But I really, really like Ty Robinson. I think he can play a multitude of positions on that defensive line. A very, very athletic, versatile guy. And I think they can definitely add another 3 tech into that room with Devontae Wyatt. We'll see where Kenny Clark ends up kind of playing. Carl Brooks. I really think it's a possibility, and I still think they'll add a nose tackle type, someone like Cam Jackson, who I'll probably target later in this draft as well. Let's add another player on the defensive line in Ty Robinson here at pick 138. We're back on the clock in the 5th round, pick 159. A couple players I was really hoping to nab here was Tyler Barron, edge out of Miami. He's someone I really like, and I tie to the Green Bay Packers. Same with Quincy Riley. I know we already got Will Johnson, but I think adding 2 cornerbacks, if we potentially trade away Jaire during this draft, which is actually what I might do here in a little bit. We already did a trade up. We went up and got Will Johnson. Might as well try to incorporate a Jaire trade, because that likely would happen if the Packers, spent draft capital, went up in the 1st round to get a cornerback. That would all but signal that, hey, Jaire's time here is done. And this is a speculative mock draft, so we're going to speculate on that. But here at 159, I think we need to add a tackle. The Packers have had 4 visits, I believe, in the top 30 visits with offensive tackles. So it seems like the Packers are definitely eyeing to add one in this draft class. And I really, really like Logan Brown. I think he's by far the next best available. I think Holland Pierce is also very intriguing, 6'8", 344, and doesn't really fit the Packers thresholds. Logan Brown's also a monster, 6'6", 315. Definitely fits that weight a little bit better for the Green Bay Packers. Logan Brown's very intriguing. He was a Wisconsin Badger transfer, 1-year starter this past season at Kansas at right tackle. Did play some left tackle in 2022, but mainly a right tackle guy. Obviously, we have Zach Tom there, but we need a swing tackle. We need a guy that depth for this offensive line. I feel like we don't have great depth at tackle right now. We do consider Jordan Morgan a potential left tackle, but I think the Packers will end up moving on from Rasheed Walker, putting Jordan Morgan at left tackle, and then there you go. You really have no depth at tackle. And I think adding a guy in the 5th round, the Packers excel at drafting linemen in the 5th round, and I think Logan Brown kind of fits right into that. Didn't allow a sack last season in all 11 games. 293 pass blocking snaps. So we are going Logan Brown, tackle out of Kansas here at pick 159. So we are going to do a Jaire Alexander trade. I'm going to do it with the Baltimore Ravens. Seems like the most likely team that would potentially trade for Jaire. So if the Packers go and get Will Johnson, trade up in the 1st round, and the draft is going on, right? We all assume that Jaire is as good as gone, and maybe the Ravens during this draft didn't really get the cornerback that they wanted, and now they're going, hey, we still need to bring in a cornerback. Let's give a ring to the Green Bay Packers, offer this final pick, our comp pick in the 5th round we got for losing a free agent, and let's go get Jaire Alexander. Now, I don't think the Packers could get any more than this. Personally, I know some of you might think that's crazy talk, but I think if the Packers were to get, a 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, it would have happened already. I think they're not getting great offers, and that's why he's still, a Green Bay Packer. Now, I hope it's all mended and everything. And the thought of Will Johnson and Jaire is also crazy. Like, that could still be a thing. But I feel like if they go up and trade up in the 1st round and get a corner, that just signals Jaire is gone. So we're going to send Jaire and our final pick at 250 for 176 to the Baltimore Ravens. I think this would honestly be realistic value. I think they could get even less than this on draft day. We'll see. It really depends, because the draft board can fall a certain way for a certain team. They don't get their cornerback and they go, hey, we need a cornerback. And the Ravens are, of course, a contending team. And I think they would welcome Jaire onto that team. He can play with his former, college teammate in Lamar Jackson. Go ahead and offer that trade. It's going to be accepted, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and get Za Frazier after trading Jaire. He's consensus around like 125, and PFF finally added him and ranked him at 188. I think he's a tremendous athlete at corner. 6'3", 185. I think ran one of the fastest 40s at cornerback. He's very, very intriguing, and I'm glad they finally added him here, because I've been wanting to draft him. Now, I know we already got Will Johnson, but we still need depth. Like, even if the Packers kept Jaire, I still think we need to add another cornerback. So the fact that we traded Jaire and pretty much swapped him out for Will Johnson, we still need to add another depth corner here that could grow into a potential, starter in the future. Really only played 1 year starting at UTSA here, but had a phenomenal season. 6 interceptions, 37.7 passer rating allowed on 18 receptions allowed. Very good in zone, very good against the run. Low completion percentage allowed at 47.4. I really like Za Frazier, so we're going to go Za Frazier here at 176 after trading away Jaire Alexander here in the 5th round. Now at pick 198, we're going to address the nose tackle position. We added Ty Robinson earlier in this draft, who is going to be a 3 tech for this defense. Now we're going to add a nose tackle, and one of the most intriguing ones, a guy that I think is completely flying under the radar for whatever reason is Cam Jackson. 6'6", 342. I mean, this guy's, a unit, and the Packers love their oversized nose tackles. TJ Slayton, John Ford, both 330 pounds plus, and then Cam Jackson also 6'6", is very intriguing. Again, you're not really looking at the sack production and whatnot. He's a run stuffer, middle of the defense. You see how many snaps he's played in the A-gap over the past 3 seasons, and a really, really solid run stop rate of 9.3%. Cam Jackson's one of my favorite guys that the Packers could potentially go in the 6th round. I think he could even raise up to the 5th round here. But we're going to go Cam Jackson, nose tackle out of Florida here at 198. Our final pick at 237, someone I really like. I'm not going to go Jared Harrison Hunt because we already had Ty Robinson. We added Cam Jackson. Yeah, we could add 3 defensive linemen in an extremely strong defensive lineman draft class for sure. He's someone I also really like. I think he's underrated. I think he can play like all over the defensive line. He can even play some edge for you. And coming off a really solid 8-sack season, good pass rush win rate, good run stop rate. Does have kind of, I believe, a missed tackle issue as well. But we're not going to go Jared Harrison Hunt. I think we need to add another wide receiver. And there are some good options here. Two of the options I really, really like in the 7th round is Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas, Elijah Badger out of Florida. Jackson Meeks out of Syracuse is intriguing as well. But those are really the 3 I like here at 237. Now, we already got Higgins, and Armstrong kind of feels like a poor man's Jaden Higgins in this draft class. 6'4", 202. Coming off 3 straight seasons of 750 plus yards is very, very intriguing. I also really like Elijah Badger coming off 3 straight 700 plus yards. Grade versus man coverage 88.5. Drop rate, he didn't drop a single ball last season. So getting Higgins, who doesn't have a drop issue, very sure hands. Elijah Badger, very sure hands. Andrew Armstrong, a little bit higher of a drop rate, 4.9%. I like Armstrong's ceiling, but I think Elijah Badger can give more to you day one as not only a special teamer, but a potential, change of pace, Z-type receiver, cheat motion and whatnot. And we already kind of got our X guy, and that's kind of where I see Andrew Armstrong. So we are going to finish up this draft going another wide receiver and Elijah Badger, wide receiver out of Florida. So that does it for mock draft version 9.0. This is an interesting one, and why not make it interesting for our final speculative mock draft? Again, do I think the Packers trade up in the 1st round? I guess it depends. If Will Johnson's available at 19, I could see it. If not, probably not. There's a better chance they trade down. So just know that. This isn't my prediction of what the Packers will do. It's a speculative mock draft, and this is definitely very, very interesting. Trading up for Will Johnson, I like that value there. Sending our 4th and a next year 5th, getting back 19, round 7 next year, and you get your number 1 guy. You get your corner, plugs right in. Your defense, hits the next level with someone like Will Johnson. Now, obviously, he's got to stay healthy, but a turf toe I'm not worried about. And Jaire is definitely an issue in terms of an injury concern. And you don't know what you're going to get next season out of Jaire if you keep him. Jaden Higgins at 54, that would be phenomenal. I think he goes before this, but if he so happens to be there at 54, run the card up. We talked about him so much. Then we traded down. I wasn't liking too many of the prospects at 87, so we trade down 13 spots, pick back up a 4th round that we lost a little bit lower, but pick one back up and go Ashton Gillott. Extreme athlete, I think a 9.3 plus RAS, does have shorter arms. That's my only worry here, but maybe the Packers loosened up their thresholds because now they're in a 4-3 defense and they want different type of players at edge. Maybe we'll see. I'm very interested how this draft goes for edge players and what the Packers look at in draft. But Gillott, a ton of production the past 3 seasons. The Packers need to add someone like that. Ty Robinson in the 4th round. I think that's right around his value, maybe even higher. I think he could go higher than this. Extreme athlete, good pass rushing, defensive line. He can really do it all. Logan Brown in the 5th round. We need a tackle. We need tackle depth. Then we trade Jaire Jaire in a 7th. For the Baltimore Ravens pick at 176 and select a cornerback. This grade means nothing. PFF didn't even have Zoff Frazier on their draft board until like last week, which is a travesty because this guy is going to be a top 150 player. I can almost guarantee it. So if we get him at 176, I'm very, very happy. And adding Will Johnson and Zoff Frazier, I think is a home run at rebuilding this outside cornerback room. Then to wrap things up, we go 2 straight Gators players, one on defense, one on offense. Cam Jackson, one of the most intriguing, underrated nose tackle defensive linemen in this class. I'll be really, really happy getting him at 198. And then one of my favorite sleepers in this entire class at receiver is Elijah Badger. We get him at 237, complementing Jaden Higgins, who we got in the 2nd round. Let me know your thoughts of this mock draft down below. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, what in the world are you cooking with today? But at the same time, this is the fun part of mock drafts, to kind of just really wing it sometimes and see, hey, maybe, the Packers are a weird team. They could do weird things in the draft. They could randomly trade up. They could trade Jaire in that same draft. It could happen. Will it? We'll see. But it definitely could happen, depending on how the draft board falls for not only the Packers, but other teams regarding Jaire Alexander. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Reminder to go check out BetUsTV for more sports content. Their YouTube is linked down in the description below. Really appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.